Hi, this is Dr. Frank Thomas, and I'm privileged and excited to present to you one more opportunity to share another session in the Preaching as Celebration series. I want to talk to you about something that's very important about method this afternoon. It's an overall concept, but let me explain it out. I remember when I was growing up, I began to take music lessons. My father was a jazz musician, and he really wanted me to play the piano. And so he took me for piano lessons. And my first piano lesson, I remember they gave me the scales. And I remember playing the scales over and over and over and over and over again. Well, 3 years later, I quit piano, primarily because all the other kids were out playing, games in the afternoon after school. And what was I doing? The first 45 minutes, I had to do piano, and I grew to hate it, so I quit. But I realized that I was learning the fundamentals. The scales were the fundamentals. I don't care if the greatest musician, the greatest concert violinist, or the greatest gospel musician, or anybody that does music always plays the scales. And unless they master the scales, they will never be a high quality musician. Likewise, preaching has some fundamentals. And if you don't master the fundamentals of preaching, in effect, you diminish your effectiveness. So I have an illustration that I use to make this point. A Pentecostal friend of mine used to, when he found out I was teaching preaching, he used to quote this scripture. You know the scripture where, if you open your mouth, God will give you what to say. How can you teach people to preach? If you open your mouth, God will give you what to say. You teaching preaching, what is that? That's an unreliance on the Holy Spirit. One of these, I don't believe that. So I shaped an illustration, and it goes like this. So imagine a glass, just a square glass. Imagine water in the glass. I call it the living water. We don't make the living water, that's the gospel that's in the glass. What preaching is shaping the container that people will drink the water in. So people, when you preach, you develop a container, and that container or that glass, you offer people the water to drink. Now, if there's a hole in the bottom of the glass because you're making a fundamental mistake or one fundamental mistake, as you offer people the water's going out on the floor. So I believe that preaching is really about the shaping of the glass by which people drink the living water. No preacher makes the living water, we make the container. And one more story. I remember when I was growing up, my mom used to make us drink out of jelly jars. Jelly jars, they take the jelly jars, take the label off, wash them out. And that's what, because we couldn't drink out of the good stuff because we would break it. We were mischievous children and, rambunctious. And so we had to drink out of these jars. And if I went to a very fine restaurant and I was having dinner and they brought out a jar, I'd be upset. So what preaching is, or homiletics as they call it, is about shaping the glass that's most appropriate for this congregation on this Sunday. Sometimes it's a jelly jar. It's most appropriate as the container out of which people drink. Sometimes fine crystal is appropriate. That's what preaching is. That's what mastering the scales, mastering the fundamentals. And in several upcoming videos, I will talk to you about some of the fundamentals. It's upcoming, but I do want you to know, master a method, find a method, practice the fundamentals, practice the fundamentals, practice the fundamentals. I want you to know that every week we have a call on Periscope, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We talk about preaching. We also upload a spiritual vitamin on SoundCloud weekly. On Monday, we release another in this series on Preaching a Celebration. On Friday, we release another in the series of Living Your Passion, where we talk about living your passion from the inside out. You can be excited about your life, excited about your ministry, excited about your job, excited about your business. You can live your passion from the inside out. God bless you, and I will talk to you next week.